Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob, and today we'll be jumping into malicious compliance. Before we start, please hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you know when the next video goes live. Our first story today comes to us from FuturePink719. They requested more DVDs? Okay, let's jump right in. Okay, so another tale from the pawn shop. Backstory. When I was working as a pawnbroker at the most profitable store in my company, we took in a lot of DVDs. Standard pay was 50 cents a DVD, and people would come with boxes, tubs, bags, and that one time, an entire bed of a pickup truck stacked. So needless to say, we had a lot of DVDs out for sale and in the back. The reason we paid that low for them was that we didn't discriminate based on popularity or title. It was 50 cents if it was the rarest movie. The rarest movie I've ever heard of was The History of Beavis and Butthead, but that's a story for another time, or the most common DVD. We also didn't catalog our DVDs, which made searching for them a waste of time. Unless you're me. See, I really loved organizing the DVDs, not because I'm organized. Every time I was helping our customers out on the pawn line, I was also answering the phones, and my coworkers were also helping the customers, but they didn't like answering the phones. So I often volunteered to go clean the messy, unorganized, and dusty DVD area and stop having to answer the phones for a while, and I became very familiar with our inventory. Story. Well, my boss, who was a badass, got passed for a promotion to district and was very angry about it, but that didn't stop him from doing a kick-butt job. So, badass boss, who we will call Jim, gets a call from corporate saying the new store we just opened needed some DVD inventory and could we send over 200 or so? Jim agrees after asking if we have that many available in backstock. We do, and it won't even put a dent in our collection. At the time, our inventory said we had roughly 6,000 DVDs. So, Jim has me go up and pick a random 200 for transfer. I do, because I don't want my fellow brokers screwing up my system. They didn't know how to alphabetize for crap. So, I get the 200 and pack them up in a box, wrap the box in cling wrap for security, and they are taken to the new store within an hour. 2 days later, Jim gets a call for another 200. I go do my thing, and same as yesterday, taken to the new store. 2 more days pass and another call comes in. Then it happens a 4th time and Jim is annoyed. We've sent them 800 DVDs and we aren't the only store to do so. At the time, our pawn store had 22-ish locations. I'm also annoyed because I'm tired of having to box up DVDs every other day. It was getting old. So 2 more days pass and we get our 5th request, but this time there's an extra bit to the request. Could you include duplicates, please? Some of the DVDs are missing their discs, and it's pretty annoying. Jim called me in to read that. See, we didn't check everyone's case for discs when we took them in, because I didn't have time to go over every case when people are bringing in literal pickup beds worth of DVDs. So when we saw that, we met eyes and grinned. Time for some malicious compliance. What I didn't mention was that of the 6,000 DVDs we had, there was a good solid 1,000 of them that were only 2 titles, Austin Powers Goldmember and The Matrix Reloaded. So I went up to the DVD shelves and packed up only the Matrix DVDs into a box, wrapped it, and sent it on its way. Jim got a call from the new store's manager to thank him because he thought it was hilarious. But for real, Jim, your brokers are slacking on DVD intake. They need to keep a better eye on DVDs or your guys' numbers will slip. We were the flagship store, and all of our brokers were in the top 10. Can I get a real box of DVDs now? I still need duplicates. Jim, with the fakest, nicest voice, goes, "Sure, man, we will send you some more DVDs." He turned to me after he hung up and said the words I want on my gravestone. Prepare the gold members. I boxed up every single Austin Powers Goldmember DVD we had in our store into 200 group boxes, and we sent all of the boxes to their store. The store never asked us for DVDs again. If they needed that many DVDs, it kind of makes you wonder if something shady was going on at that other store. Also, prepare the gold members is now one of my favorite sayings. It's great to see so many people building up the KCC community, but the majority of you watching this video right now aren't actually subscribed. If you're enjoying this daily Reddit content, please hit that subscribe button. It's free and you can always reverse it later. Our next story today comes to us from LycanJedi. You don't want me to waste time by following procedures? Okay, let's jump right in. I worked at, for legal reasons, let's call it Walmart myself. And I effing hated the spill rule. Here's the thing, if you don't follow spill procedure, you get bitched out. If you do, you get bitched out for wasting time. For context, for those that have the absolute blessing of never working in the hell that is Walmart, procedure states you have to wait by the spill until another associate comes by. If it's a bad spill, you're supposed to help clean up the spill. I've got millions of Walmart horror stories, and this is one of many. We had a customer knock about 3 glasses off the shelf, breaking them. Per procedure, I waited by the spill. The next 10 minutes, Jedi to the back room, over and over and over and over on the intercom. It must have been announced about 4 times in under 5 minutes. For context, I pulled pallets of freight from the back room to the sales floor, so it wasn't life-threatening, I knew. Finally, another associate sees me, gets a broom, and we clean up the spill. As soon as I get to the back room, my supervisor bitched me out, saying, "You are needed here, not out there. You leave that to the sales team." The next day when I came in, I was written up for wasting time. When I explained what had happened, I was again told, "Well, next time, you should just leave it." Yeah, see where this is going, right? That sweet, sweet, malicious compliance. About a week later, we had a new guy working chem. Now, with backroom, we have to pull everything off trucks and stack it on pallets, then pull those to the floor. He starts to pull the most unstable pallet I've ever seen. Thing was leaning before he left. He pulls it to the sales floor and gets all the way to chem with me behind him when it goes. Boxes on boxes fall, and laundry detergent and fabric softener go everywhere. We're talking at least 7 bottles worth, all over the floor and quickly into the women's apparel section. I pull my pallet around and keep walking. As I'm coming back, I see him standing there. Looking back, I feel bad for doing this, but at that moment, I didn't give a single solitary F. I said, "You'll need some Speedy Dry, ask Dick for some," our supervisor who bitched me out, fake name, and walked away. When management asked why I didn't help, I straight up told them, "You told me not to worry about spills, that I should leave it for others, and you wrote me up. I'm just following your instructions." I didn't get written up and never got bitched at for following procedures again. My one question here is, why did the guy leave the back room with such a poorly stacked pallet? He had to know that something was going to happen. Our next story today comes to us from Rhubarb 314, going along with a sexist car salesman. Let's jump right in. My wife and I have used a salesman's sexism against him, and it was so satisfying. It was when we bought our first new car. We were nervous that we didn't know what we were doing, so we did a lot of research. It helps that my wife is a librarian. When we got to the dealer, the salesman would only talk to me. I was all buddy-buddy with the guy too, but he completely ignored my wife. We went along. The dealer was running a promotion where they would give you X dollars for your trade-in, no matter what condition, if you can drive it on the lot kind of deal. Of course, they just don't discount off of MSRP in those cases, so it's a gimmick. When we walked in, the salesman asked which car was ours, parked outside, and then asked if we were trading it in. I said no, we weren't trading that car in. You can see where this was going. As I said, we had done our research and knew what a fair price was for the car we wanted. At the time, Edmunds had detailed dealer-level price information for many new cars, including all the various ways a dealer gets paid and what their true costs are. The invoice price is not their true cost. I negotiated the price since he wouldn't talk to my wife, and we arrived at a number I thought was fair, actually. We got a good deal at that point. Everything was going smoothly as he wrote up our agreement until he confirmed that we didn't have a trade-in. I said, no, we were trading in a car, just not the one we drove into the dealer in. He literally froze for a few seconds looking down at the form, his hand hovering over the page. He asked the make, model, and year of our trade-in, and when I told him, he sputtered and balked. The car we were trading in was on its last legs. I'd had it all during college, and it was old before I bought it. It was definitely past its prime. I said, I thought you were running a promotion where the quality of the trade-in doesn't matter. I asked him if he would have given us a higher price if he knew we had a trade-in. My wife said under her breath, that's sleazy. He heard as she intended him to. He then tried to renegotiate the price. We knew from our research that if they gave us the price we had already agreed on and they honored the trade-in deal, that they would be losing money. So we were willing to move a bit, but we wanted to take our time. He was visibly nervous. Every time he tried a new way of asking for a higher price, I would say something like, I understand what you're saying, with a sympathetic look. Then I would look at my wife and she would look back at me and silently shake her head no. I'd then look back at the salesman and shrug and say, I don't think that's going to work. He was stuck. She was the one standing in the way of him getting out of his predicament, but he hadn't talked to her at all. He had barely even acknowledged her presence. He just couldn't start talking to her now when we were negotiating. Oh, and I even got to use the classic car salesman line, what do I have to do for you to put me in this car today? We finally agreed to raise the price to an amount that, after figuring the trade-in, was what we had thought was their break-even price. We hadn't expected to get that low of a price, and we also got them to install a nice aftermarket sound system. It's the best deal we've ever gotten on a new car. Honestly, we're not the best negotiators individually, but that day we made one hell of a team. In summary, salesman ignores my wife, wife makes final decision on buying a car. Not much else to say about that one. Our next story today comes to us from Kate out of space. You have to pay for that. Let's jump right in. So I was talking to a friend about my days working at the Golden Arches and remembered this. Now, I was hired when I was 18, older than the usual crew, but could work the overnight 10 or 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. On these shifts, there's usually only a kitchen crew member, me, and a manager on with a service staffer only sometimes. These shifts were a little unpredictable and could go from dead quiet for hours, then 2 cars at once want 80 nuggets and like 6 quarter-pounders each, or large sporadic rushes, particularly on the Friday and Saturday nights around 2 to 3 a.m. Now, most managers were pretty chill. Let me listen to my music and eat on shift rather than take a solid break, as that left them to take, cook, and serve the orders alone. They didn't make me pay for it, as I was doing them a favor by gradually taking my meal break while still working. A new manager, I'll call her Dumb Nugget, came on board and decided that they were going to be a stickler for the rules, and explicitly told me that if I didn't pay for food, that I was stealing, and that they would issue me a warning. So the first day with them I paid, but took a break and sat down with the food I bought only for a big order to come through and them to demand my help before releasing me back to my break. Managers at my store had 5 overnights in a row, then several days off. So I had Dumb Nugget the following night and the shift went as normal till 2:30 when I took my break. Cooked a McChicken. They yelled out to make sure I put it through and paid for it and to leave the receipt on the counter. They were counting stock or something about and didn't trust me. Anyways, did that and sat down in the dining section to eat when sure enough we got 8 cars in drive-thru full of drunk hungry people. Cue malicious compliance. They are putting through the orders to kitchen and I just sit and watch the screen fill up and go over to the page nibbling on my food, enjoying not being on my feet. When they come screaming at me, why aren't you making the orders? This car's been waiting for over 5 minutes and nothing is ready. I just replied that I was on my break and as I wasn't on the clock, I didn't need to make the orders. They yelled some more about how I was being rude and that I should be working and helping the store, aka them, as I was making the store, them, look bad to the customers for having to wait. I just said something like, well, don't have them wait any longer, and went back to my burger. Did this the rest of the overnights we had together, and they got madder each time, getting stuck doing it all by themselves. It was quite entertaining. Now, while I did enjoy their own sticking to the rules, causing them trouble, after Dumb Nugget was done with their overnights and I working with one of the chill dudes, I told them how they're gonna want to give Dumb Nugget the what's up as to staff food on shift or all their overnights are going to suck. Apparently they talked because next time with them they didn't make me pay and things were a lot smoother for them from there on out. I've always been a firm believer that if you're legally entitled to some breaks, then you should take those breaks. Just breaking up the work even with a short 15-minute break can be extremely good for your mental health. Our last story today comes to us from The Broken Puppet 19, How My SO Got My Birthday Off. Let's jump right in. The title doesn't sound malicious compliance, but don't judge based off of the name. I rarely celebrate my birthday anymore, but if it wasn't for my SO, 21 male, I wouldn't have such an awesome story to share. He's letting me share since he doesn't have Reddit. Here's the cast, names changed for privacy. Shane, my SO, Fred, the boss, Dick, the leader of the team, Honey, well, it's me. Shane works in heavy machinery company. He really loves his job, and Shane doesn't look like he can lift that much. You'd be surprised. He's got a great gig working 12-hour shifts with the weekly days off, which he usually spends time with me. On the day this happens, Shane's waiting for one of the machines to restart. In comes Dick. Dick starts going off on Shane as he just sees him standing there. Stop standing around and get back to work. Of course, Shane defends himself with the obvious, stating the restart and whatnot. They go at this for a few minutes, then comes the glorious words. You know what? How about we trade places for the day? We'll see who has the tougher job. Dick, of course, agrees. I want your whole schedule for the day. Okay, to be clear, you want my whole schedule? Yes, your whole schedule. Okay. Shane proceeds to hand over 3 pages, written over front and back, his entire schedule. Dick looks it over. There's no way this is your schedule for the day. The week, maybe. Shane gives him a serious look. That is my entire schedule for the day. Dick walks off to start Shane's schedule. Shane stands at Dick's desk and starts on what's supposed to be 6 hours of work. Shane gets the work done in an hour. Dick comes back in 2 hours. Shane, you need to help me with this. I can't. You need to learn it like I did. I had to figure out how to do it myself. You need to help me. I'm the leader for the day. Stop standing around and get back to work. Dick's face had never been redder as he walked away to figure it out. Turns out, Dick actually complained to Fred, the boss, and Fred comes in. Dick says you're not respecting him. Shane shrugs and explains what actually happened. Fred rubs his chin and goes silent for a few minutes. Dick looks smug, as if he'd won. Then Fred responds with something that makes Shane grin ear to ear. Well, I had something I needed Shane's help with tomorrow morning, but since Shane's got plans tomorrow and he's the leader, Dick, you'll have to be his replacement. It's been a week and Dick's still mad from what I've heard. You may ask me what malicious compliance was in the story. Dick learned exactly how much work my man does in the company by Shane maliciously complying with Dick's demand. I've mentioned this at the end of stories before, but a manager can't manage unless they know exactly what they are managing. I think everybody who gets a management role should have to spend some time doing the jobs of the people below them. Thank you to all 5 OPs for posting their stories in the Malicious Compliance subreddit. They are linked in the description down below. Please go check them out. Check out one of these other videos, and if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories.